Women love roses, children violets, brides love jasmine, and Mr. C.P. Mehra loves cacti. He's got hundreds of varieties of this prickly plant packed into his flat. And if there's one place he'd love to lie if he could, it would be of a bed made of the spines of cacti. On Living on the Edge this week. The king of the jungle in trouble, counting decibels with Roshni, exposing the illegal trade in endangered reptiles, and how empowering women has worked wonders in Garhwal. The last Asiatic lion outside India was shot in Iran 5 decades ago. Today the Gir forest in Gujarat is the last home of this magnificent beast. But here there are too many kings in a small jungle and problems are on the rise. Monica Dhingra has this story to tell. By the way, Monica Dhingra said that the sanctuary is surrounded by unusually high walls of cactus to prevent wild animals from straying onto neighboring fields.
Glossy wildlife books would have been your only introduction to him. An animal with a wild mane, deceptively lazy gait, and a fearsome roar. But that was before conservationists stepped in and turned the tide. Today he is to be found in a dry deciduous forest amidst a rolling acacia landscape in western India. Welcome to Gir, the last bastion of the Asiatic lion. Asiatic lions once roamed the Middle East and plains of northern India by the thousands, but by the middle of the 19th century, their numbers had been reduced to a few hundred, confined largely to the Gir forest of the Kathiawar Peninsula in Gujarat. Living in large groups amidst the low scrub forests of the region, they became easy trophies for hunters. A British officer boasted of having killed 80 lions during his 3-year stay in Kathiawar. Another Britisher shot 14 lions in Gir forest in 10 days. By the turn of the century, indiscriminate hunting had reduced the lion population in Gir to just 20. In a bid to protect the beleaguered lion population, the Nawab of Junagadh banned the hunting of lions in the area. This policy was adopted by the government after independence, and Gir was declared a wildlife sanctuary in 1965. So successful was the conservation effort that the population of lions in the Gir sanctuary has risen to over 300. Ironically, the problem today stems not from too few lions, but from too many. Lions are territorial animals. As their numbers increase, they are forced to venture out of their safe haven in Gir in search of new territory. This brings them into conflict with man and makes them easy targets for poachers. Gir has reached its carrying capacity, so to speak. The lions need more space, so does man. For generations, Gir has been home to the Maldharis, a semi-nomadic tribe living in hutments called nesses inside the forest and dependent on forest grasses for fodder for their cattle. But over time, their population has increased considerably. With free grazing rights inside the sanctuary, the Maldharis keep as many cattle heads as possible. Once domestic cattle enter the sanctuary, they become easy prey for the lions. This is only part of the problem.
Particularly during summer season, they resort to lopping of trees also. And in order to protect their cattle against wild carnivores, they are cutting lot of thorny material from the forest area.
In an attempt to resolve the issue, some Maldharis were relocated outside the sanctuary by the district panchayat, but many have returned with complaints.
અમને નભવાનું કંઈક સાધન તો આપવું જોઈએ ને ના અમને ખેતી તો સારી આપવી જોઈએ ને ખારા પાટમાં મોકલે ખારા પાણી છે ન્યા એટલે ખારી જમી.
But Maldhari intrusion into the forest is only part of the problem. Right in the middle of the forest is a Tulsi Ashram temple. Each day nearly 500 people travel through the forest in an assortment of vehicles to visit the temple. This traffic is impossible to control and poses a constant threat to the wild animals. This lion was killed by a speeding truck during a festival.
Don't you think the temple complex and people coming inside every day cause a disturbance to the animals?
It's not at all. As there is a road and the land is granted ex-constituting state of the Junagadh state. After all the ideas, practical knowledge, the lion and the Siam born in the same way.
There is absolutely no problem with respect to the pilgrims who are genuine pilgrims. But organizing tours in the name of pilgrimage is wrong.
Our staff has to be always on alert in order to check such type of incidences. That is why we have regulated the entry of pilgrims through specified routes only, and that too during a specified period of time.
While the temple issue is yet to be resolved, the discovery of rich limestone reserves has further compounded the problems in Gir. Miners have been quick to seize the opportunity, and with the government turning a blind eye, limestone quarries have sprung up on the very periphery of the sanctuary. Limestone acts as an aquifer to prevent the saline coastal waters from seeping into the ground. Destruction of this belt could result in depletion of groundwater reserves within the sanctuary, besides blocking the corridors that connect Gir to the coastal forests of the region, where some lions are known to have migrated. A worker at one of the quarries admitted to seeing lions stray close.
यहाँ से जो शेर आते हैं और माइनिंग का आवाज़ सुन के ही चले जाते हैं, और बाजू में एक गांव भी है और अंबुजा फैक्ट्री भी है उससे थोड़ी दूर, और उसने यहाँ की 900 एकड़ जमीन खरीद ली है.
There are cases where the lions have moved from the sanctuary area to the coastal border. If the process of industrialization in the process of biotic interference increases beyond certain limit, I think those corridors will be permanently lost.
If human interference increases, lions will eventually be confined to small pockets of the forest, leading to inbreeding and constant fights for space. According to experts, each lion needs an average of 50 square kilometer territorial space to avoid conflict with other lions. In Gir, lions have just 5 kilometers each. Gir is clearly not large enough for the large lion population it is home to. Translocation, which basically means moving some of the lions to another sanctuary, though not an easy task, is perhaps the best option. Not only would it help reduce the incidence of man-animal conflict in Gir, but it would also help in relieving the pressure on its beleaguered lion population. Whichever way you look at it, it's obvious that urgent remedial action is called for. Otherwise, what conservation has achieved over decades could be lost in a few years.
In the Serengeti National Park in Kenya, over 1,000 African lions died of canine distemper when it spread through them like wildfire. Conservationists fear that if something like this were to happen in Gir, the last remaining Asiatic lions would be wiped out. You look like you need a break. Welcome back. Mr. Mehra, are you ready for some piercing questions on a thorny issue?
Oh yes,
You're a CA by profession.
that's right.
Some people would say that's a cactus accumulator.
Mhm.
Why cacti?
You know, I'm a very keen gardener for a very long time, but in 1950, early 50, I met a lady in Saharanpur. She had a wonderful cacti collection, and I was fascinated to see the geometrical patterns on this. And since then, you may say, I was hooked by the spines. One thing is certain, that whenever I spend my time with my plants, it's so peaceful and comforting. and have no tension whatsoever.
Okay. While on the subject of peace and quiet, how many of us enjoy a quiet moment living in the city? If it's not the traffic, it's the blaring television. If it's not the television, it's a loudspeaker in the colony. Roshni Jayakrishnan accosts Fogons on the street to prove that we can't live without noise. Or can we?
This is a relatively quiet road, and here I can hear someone blowing his horn. Ah, here he comes. Hi. Okay, so show me the different horns in your car.
What about this? And the other one is... Wow!
You must be creating a big ruckus when you go anywhere. What do you think of noise pollution?
Well, it's so bad and it affects the heart of the person, anyone.
Did you know that motorcycles are the biggest noise pollutants, as in they create a sound of about 110 decibels, which is noise trauma for any ears.
I'm sure my bike doesn't create that sort of a noise level.
क्योंकि हमारी गाड़ी की इतनी आवाज़ है, उनकी आवाज़ सुनाई नहीं देती। और हम किस लिए बजाए जाते हैं? डराने के लिए नहीं, साइड मांगी जाती है।
Did you blow the horn just now? I did. Okay, it's a red light. Why did you blow the horn?
My bike does not have a horn.
Stereos in the cars, I'm really against them.
Nobody can stop it.
Why do people honk so much in this city?
Generally to scare people, like especially girls. Constant noise.
You know all that traffic sound we hear all the time? Well, I've just found the source of it all. Here is a horn market. Here you get all kinds of horns to fit any personality. It's for the calm. Don't cry, it's okay. If you're stuck in a traffic jam and there's cars honking at you all the time and there's constant noise, how does it affect you?
That is really noisy. That is a headache.
It could make you a very cranky person. I get irritated with people.
I feel like stopping right there and then and getting out and bashing the one who's right behind me.
एक बहुत कम सुनाई देता है। Headache, ear, dump.
How do you protect yourself?
No way of protecting myself. You just get affected by the noise pollution, that's all.
Okay, you have an air-conditioned car, so does that protect you from some of the noise in the traffic jams?
It protects me.
असर तो पड़ता है लेकिन मजबूरी है, क्या करें।
ये ज़्यादा आवाज़ हो तो सिर दर्द ठीक हो जाता है। अगर नहीं होगी तो सिर दर्द होना शुरू हो जाता है।
हम लोगों को क्या फर्क पड़ना है? हम लोगों को तो रातों दिन वही करना पड़ता है।
नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है।
What would you think as being a solution to this high level of noise on the roads?
I seldom blow the horn.
पीस तो देखो जी अपने मन में होता है।
All the people around, they are conscious about the noise pollution. I think something can be done.
I don't know. It's very difficult to say as an individual what I can do. I can only make changes in myself.
It's such a pleasure to walk on an empty road like this. None of that honking, beeping, none of those loud decibel sounds. Ah, the joy of silence.
Practically next door to these cacti lives the Sanda lizard. It thrives in harsh desert conditions but is finding it difficult to deal with man. The reason? Its fat is considered to be an aphrodisiac. The lizard is protected under the Wildlife Protection Act, but this has not stopped it from being killed in public view on city streets. Our watchdog Neelam Aluwalia, assisted by Shankar Raman, went undercover to file this report.
The Sunday market outside Red Fort is in full swing. I've heard that the spiny-tailed monitor lizard, which is a highly threatened species under the Wildlife Protection Act, was openly killed in the market here. Now I'm on my way to check out this illegal practice.
The oil extracted from the lizard is said to cure male sexual dysfunctions and enhance the libido.
ये लाते खाते हो ना? मैं राजस्थान से लाता हूँ सर। राजस्थान से। अब खरीदते हैं पकड़ते खुद? खरीदना पड़ता है। बना दो माल को मैं।
अरे कहाँ साहब, आप तो मेरे सालों से कर रहे होंगे ना ये काम तो?
अरे साहब हमारा खानदान इस काम को करता है।
प्रॉब्लम वैसे नहीं, मैं कह रहा हूँ पुलिस तो नहीं बोल रही।
अरे नहीं कमाल कर रहे हैं यार, कोई अफीम ले जा रहे हैं या गांजा ले जा रहे हो, आपको पुलिस पकड़ ले।
नहीं वो तो
ये तो खुलेआम बिकता है, पूरे शहर पूरे प्रांत में बिकता है। संडे बैठता हूँ, एक ही दिन तो बाजार लगता है, कोई रोज थोड़ी लगता है यहाँ। बाकी दिन धंधा और कहीं होता है, कहीं हम नेहरू प्लेस बैठ जाएंगे, कहीं साउथ में बैठ जाएंगे, कहीं हाउस साथ चले जाएंगे, कहीं प्रिया सिनेमा चले जाएंगे।
At this point, a bystander asked for some freshly prepared oil. What followed was gruesome. We could have avoided showing you what we saw, but then you have to see for yourself how barbaric this process is. Revolted by what I'd seen, I confronted the vendor who panicked and refused to let us film.
क्या कर रहे हो? सिर्फ हम शूटिंग कर रहे हैं। क्यों? नहीं आप बंद क्यों कर रहे हैं? मुझे बताइए ना। अच्छा बता दो ना, इलीगल है क्या?
अरे ये
कैमरे को नहीं दिखाना चाहते हैं।
Within a few minutes, the mobile shop had disappeared.
क्या पता क्या है? तकरीबन 5 संदेश मानना है।
कितने आप मुझे बताइए कि यहाँ पे रेड फोर्ट एरिया में कितने लोग हैं इस एरिया में जो
और रेड फोर्ट एरिया में लगभग तकरीबन कम से कम 10-15 लोग तो हैं।
Surprisingly, a policeman on duty refused to accept that what we'd witnessed ever occurs in his area.
ठंडा तेरा से आज कश्मीर के एरिया में भेजते हैं।
और इस पूरे एरिया में रेड फोर्ट के एरिया में कोई नहीं बैठता?
ना जी, रेड फोर्ट जो हमारा कोतवाली का एरिया है उसमें कोई नहीं बैठता।
हम अभी
So much for custodians of the law. Armed with video evidence, I confronted the Wildlife Preservation Director for Northern India.
I agree that this thing has been happening over the ages, and as I told you that the trade has some kind of legitimacy, because nobody is really taking any action directly, if I may say so.
Why is that so?
As I told you that things are happening for so long that people don't want to take action against those people, and there is everybody feels that there will be a hue and cry in case any action is initiated against those poor people. Of our own, we don't have infrastructure to enforce everything. Basically, it is the job of the state governments.
As a regional director responsible for wildlife conservation in northern India, Mr. Kumar clearly does not seem interested in taking any direct responsibility. We've decided to take up the matter now with the Chief Wildlife Warden of Delhi.
This is really a cruelty.
What action are you going to take?
Definitely, we will now conduct the raid. If it is on Sunday, then we will conduct the raids on Sunday and seize the material and arrest the people who are indulging in the practice.
These people have been trading in lizard oil for generations. Illiterate and poor, they feel this is the only means by which they can earn their livelihood. So if the spiny-tailed lizard has to be protected from disappearing altogether, the state governments have to pressurize traders to take up other occupations.
We intend to follow up on stories we've covered in our Watchdog section to see if our reports brought about any change or not. Our address for those of you who want to write to us with story ideas and suggestions is Living on the Edge, Star TV, Post Box number 9, New Delhi 110065, India. 50 years after independence, only 7% of the seats in parliament are occupied by women. While political parties haggle over women's empowerment, a small group in Garhwal has shown how empowering women can have spectacular results at the village level. Nandini Rajwade reports.
Cooking for the family, fetching fuel wood, working in the fields and nurturing children. Till recently, that's all she had time for. For the woman of rural India, participation in politics was something she couldn't have even imagined. But then in 1993, the government passed the 73rd Amendment to strengthen Panchayati Raj institutions. 1/3 of the seats in the Panchayat system are now reserved for women.
जैसे ही मैं प्रधान बनी तो कुदरती मेरे मन में ये विचार आया कि कितना अच्छा काम है ये। हम घर में रहते थे तो खाली हम महिलाएं चूल्हे और चौके से ही सीमित थी और हर अपने काम करने का अलग से तरीका, जो काम हम बहुत ही लंबा समय लगा के करते थे तो उसके लिए नॉलेज बढ़ती है कि ये ऐसे नहीं ऐसे भी हो सकता है।
Sarla Devi is the Pradhan of the Prithvipur Gram Panchayat in the Vikaspur block near Dehradun. She takes her role seriously even though it wasn't easy for her in the beginning.
गांव की महिलाएं थी, हमें ना तो समितियों के बारे में पता था और ना बैठकों के बारे में पता था और ना ये जो भी विकास के कार्य हैं उसके बारे में भी हमें कुछ नॉलेज नहीं थी और कोरम वगैरह आदि अन्य छोटी छोटी चीज़ें हैं, इन्होंने काफ़ी अच्छी तरह से हमें सिखाई है।
In the Tehri Garhwal region, the Rural Litigation Entitlement Kendra decided that if women were to do a good job, they needed to be trained first.
When we first ventured into the thing, the women were very apprehensive and they were very low on confidence, So how we worked it out was we tried to convince them as to how well they were managing their households, you know. So if they could manage their households so well and if they could make decisions at that level, why couldn't they do it on at the political level?
For the women here, being elected to the Panchayat didn't mean only political power. It meant a transformation. It inculcated a sense of duty and responsibility towards the community, and a desire to excel was born.
पहले इतनी जागरूकता नहीं थी हमारे गांव के अंदर, अभी काफ़ी जागरूकता आई है कि भाई हम प्रधान के साथ साथ चलें, जो काम नहीं हो रहा है उसको हम करें करके।
जिसका मकान नहीं है उसके लिए सुधार करना, भाई किसी का मकान नहीं है और रास्ते हैं जैसे पानी नहीं है और ये अपना सड़कें हैं सारी की सारी सुधार, ये नाले हैं खाए, तो ये इसके लिए हमें ये सिखाया तो दिया और पद भी दे दिया, उसके लिए पैसा नहीं है।
The going isn't always easy. Women are yet to learn how to jumpstart the bureaucracy.
हम महिलाएं हम हर दफ्तर में भी जाती हैं, ब्लॉक में भी जाती हैं और पूरा दिन अपने घर से बाहर अपने काम में लगी रहती हैं, तो हमारे काम क्यों नहीं हो रहे हैं? मेरी सोच ये है कि पुरुष लोगों के काम फटाफट हो रहे हैं, या तो उनकी जिले में यारी दोस्ती होगी तब उनके काम हो रहे हैं, या तो सवाल दूसरा ये होता है कि ये लोग खिलाते पिलाते होंगे जो हम महिलाएं नहीं कर सकती हैं।
What women pradhans in other parts of the country need is training of the sort given at the Rural Entitlement Litigation Kendra in Dehradun district to give them confidence and a sense of purpose.